Hello guys, welcome back. My name's Nathan, and today I'm going to be discussing every NHL team's best draft steal over the past 10 years. Now, the amount of great draft steals over the past decade has been insane. We've seen so many star players come from the 4th or even to the 7th round in the NHL in the past few drafts. But who do I see as the best draft steals of the past decade, and who do I see as every NHL team's best draft steal of the past 10 years? Watch till the end to find out. Now, when it comes to the criteria for a draft steal, I like to look at how much value they get at the round they're picked in. Now, I'm not going to exclude first-round picks because you could technically get a draft steal in the first round, just looking at Montreal and Cole Caulfield in this recent NHL draft. But for the most part, these are later-round picks, more in the 4 to 7 range, that made big impacts unexpectedly in the NHL. We're going to start out today's video with the Anaheim Ducks and end with the Winnipeg Jets, and going to, in my personal opinion, the biggest draft steal for the Ducks the past 10 years, I have Ondrej Kase. He is a right winger, age 23, Czech Republic born. He was drafted in the 7th round, 205th overall, back in the 2014 NHL draft. And Kase hasn't had a fully healthy career up to this point, but when healthy next year, I think we'll have a big year too. So far, his career has been fantastic. Played 149 games, gotten 36 goals, 37 assists for 73 points. And getting that out of a 7th round pick is pretty good. And going on to the Arizona Coyotes' biggest draft steal of the past 10 years, I have Connor Garland. Right winger, age 23, American born. He was drafted in the 5th round, 123rd overall back in the 2015 NHL draft. He started out his career this past season, but was very good for Arizona, got some clutch goals, and right now at age 23 is still young, still has more to prove, and could get a lot better for Arizona too. Going on to the Boston Bruins' biggest draft steal of the past decade, I have Danton Heinen. Center/left winger, age 24. He was drafted in the 4th round, 116th overall, back in the 2014 draft. When he suddenly went onto the NHL scene a year back in the 17-18 season, I'm like, who the heck is this guy? But he's fantastic defensively, has made a big impact points-wise already for Boston, is one of their best depth players. And for Boston, a team that has that great first line, they definitely need him to contribute, and he's done that in the past couple of years. And going on to the Buffalo Sabres and their biggest draft steal, I have Viktor Olofsson. A right winger, age 24, Olofsson was drafted in the 7th round, 181st overall in the 2014 NHL draft, and while he's only played 6 games up to this point in the NHL, he's been a beast in the AHL system, and it probably is one of the Buffalo's best prospects, right behind Dylan Cousins. He likely will make a big impact next season and could potentially be in the Calder conversation. Going on to the Calgary Flames and their biggest draft steal, I think personally if I have anybody other than Johnny Gaudreau, I probably will get burned like a witch in the olden days, so I'm going to say Johnny Gaudreau, and I think that is the correct choice. He, of course, is a left winger, age 26, American born from New Jersey, baby. He was drafted in the 4th round, 104th overall, and we already know how good Johnny Gaudreau was this past season, got 99 points. He's a fantastic player, one of the best Team USA players too, and in the 4th round, that's just nasty. Now going on to the bunch of jerks and their biggest draft steal, I have Sebastian Aho. A center at age 22, Finnish born. He was drafted 35th overall in the 2nd round back in the 2015 NHL draft. And Aho is one of the earliest picks in this entire video, but getting him in the 2nd round nonetheless is still an amazing pick. He's part of an excellent 2015 draft class, and Sebastian Aho didn't really take his time either. I think he took like a year in the Liga or something, and then after that was just an absolute beast for Carolina. Is one of their franchise faces, and maybe their franchise face for the future. Going on to the Chicago Blackhawks and their biggest draft steal, I have Andrew Shaw. Right winger, age 28, Canadian born. He was drafted in the 5th round, 139th overall back in the 2011 NHL draft. And for Chicago, during those cup runs, was a huge part of them. And again, he's a fan favorite in Chicago, getting traded just back from the Chicago Blackhawks. He should be decent next year after having almost a career year last year offensively. Going on to the Colorado Avalanche and their biggest draft steal, I have Tyson Barrie. Defenseman at age 28, Canadian born from British Columbia. He was drafted in the 3rd round, 64th overall in the 2009 NHL draft. And while Tyson Barrie right now is obviously a Toronto Maple Leaf, he'll get that next chapter in his career. For the Colorado Avalanche, the years that he put in were absolutely valuable, being their best defenseman for a long time. The offense enough is totally worth that pick. And a 3rd round pick, just best for Tyson Barrie, that's a pretty good steal for Colorado. Now going on to the Columbus Blue Jackets and their biggest draft steal, I have Marcus Navarra. Defenseman at age 25, Finnish-born. He was drafted in the 7th round, 189th overall in the 2015 NHL draft. Just another fantastic player from that draft too. We can obviously make jokes about his amazing first name, which is totally amazing, but he has been a solid player for Columbus, and getting him in the 7th round, even though he's not amazing, he's still pretty good, and for a 7th round pick, man, you can't go wrong with that. Now going on to my favorite team, the Dallas Stars, and their biggest draft steal of the past decade, I have John Klingberg. Defenseman at age 27, Swedish-born stud. He was drafted in the 5th round, 131st overall, back in the 2010 NHL draft. And John Klingberg, when he first entered the NHL, was always a good offensive defenseman, but the defense was never quite rounded out, made some big mistakes, but since then has become a much more complete defenseman, one of the best defensemen in the NHL, not just offensively too. And he's a big leader for Dallas, and getting him in the 5th round for that kind of package is just absolutely insane. And of course, once I'm halfway through the video, somebody starts mowing the lawn, but we're going to continue with it. Alright, we're just going to continue with it. For the Detroit Red Wings, best draft steal, I have Andreas Athanasiou. Right winger, or left winger slash right winger, age 25. He was drafted in the 4th round, 110th overall in the 2012 NHL draft. And he's taken some time to be one of Detroit's main producers, but is obviously fantastic offensively. Had 54 points last season, and right now is one of their best players in general. Now going on to the Edmonton Oilers and their biggest draft steal, there was not a lot of options, but I'm picking my Texas-born stud, Caleb Jones. Defenseman at age 22 from Arlington, Texas. Drafted in the 4th round, 117th overall in the 2015 NHL draft. Caleb Jones being the brother of Seth Jones, pretty good defenseman in the NHL. Caleb Jones, though, is one of the best Edmonton prospects, and a very good one at that. Could be a solid producer for Edmonton in the future. At only age 22, he's still played a few NHL games, and hopefully for Edmonton in the next couple of years, finds a way to get into that defense and actually be pretty good, which for Edmonton's developing standards would be a big improvement. Going on to the Florida Panthers and their biggest draft steal, I have Mackenzie Weegar. Defenseman at age 25 from Ottawa, Ontario. He was drafted in the 7th round, 206th overall in the 2013 NHL draft, and being a 7th round pick, he's become a pretty decent defenseman. Last year in 64 games, got 15 points, and while he's not a well-known name or anything on the Florida Panthers, you don't exactly have too many of those anyways. Now going on to the LA Kings, and in my opinion, their biggest draft steal, I have Paul LeDuc. Defenseman at age 26, born in Grand Forks, North Dakota. You don't see that too often. He was drafted in the 6th round, 181st overall back in 2012, and in my opinion is one of LA's better defensemen. He hasn't played too many NHL games, only played 33 last season, but for LA, the bar isn't exactly too high. I think when it comes to LeDuc, he's a solid guy, and getting him in the 6th round for LA, a team that needs all the defense they can get, that was a good pick for them, at least back in the day. Now going on to the Minnesota Wild and their biggest draft steal of the past 10 years, I have Kirill Kaprizov. Left winger, age 22, Russian-born. Kaprizov was drafted in the 5th round, 135th overall in the 2015 draft. But Kaprizov is a big example of a player who hasn't even played an NHL game yet, but is already a huge, gigantic steal. Getting him in the 5th round, a guy that already is a dominant KHL player and could be dominant in the NHL too, is just absolutely nasty. When it comes to Minnesota, they are really starving when it comes to star players, but Kaprizov could be that next guy if he hopefully signs and carries over to North America. Going on to one of the biggest draft steals of this entire video, now on to the Montreal Canadiens and Brendan Gallagher. A right winger, age 27 from Edmonton, Alberta. Gallagher was drafted in the 5th round, 147th overall in the 2010 NHL draft. And Gallagher, for a 5th round pick, that's some heavy value for Montreal. A guy that, in my opinion, should be the captain for them. Amazing two-way ability, one of the better drivers of play in the NHL, and he's just a dominant player on the ice in most of his games. Is relentless and fearless, and he's shown that in the NHL so far. Doesn't put up superstar point totals, but is a superstar when you watch him on the ice. Going on to the Nashville Preds, and in my opinion the best Preds draft steal of the past 10 years, I have Viktor Arvidsson. Left winger, age 26, Swedish-born. Arvidsson was drafted in the 4th round, 112th overall in the 2014 NHL draft. Now I want to put a disclaimer out there that Mattias Ekholm was about as close as anybody ever. He was super close between him and Arvidsson, but Arvidsson is just my slight pick there. Again, this past season, Arvidsson had an incredible year when he was healthy. Ended up putting up 34 goals in 58 games, and I have really come to love Arvidsson in the last few years, and especially in that cup run, I really fell in love with his play and his style. He's an electrifying player, and when he is healthy, one of Nashville's best players all around. Now going on to one of the best names in the NHL, and proudly I will include him on this list. For the New Jersey Devils' best draft steal, I have Jesper Bratt. He's a winger at age 21 from Stockholm, Sweden. He was drafted in the 6th round, 162nd overall in the 2016 NHL draft. And Jesper Bratt has taken no time to get to the NHL and be an impact player already. He's a guy that puts up points, but he's just an energetic player on the ice. This past season had 33 points in 51 games. Wasn't fully healthy, unfortunately, but his name is Bratt. What's not to love? Going on to the New York Islanders, and their biggest draft steal of the past decade, I have Anders Lee. He's a left winger at age 29 from Edina, Minnesota. He was drafted in the 6th round, 152nd overall in the John Tavares draft. Obviously, John Tavares being the first overall pick there. He was the captain, and now Anders Lee's the captain. But getting Anders Lee at a 6th round pick is amazing value. While he doesn't put up superstar point totals, he is the captain for New York, and is still a very solid two-way player, and obviously has the leadership to go along with it. Moving on to the New York Rangers and their biggest draft steal of the past 10 years, I have Igor Shesterkin. Goaltender, age 23, Russian-born. He was drafted in the 4th round, 118th overall in the 2014 NHL draft. And just like Kirill Kaprizov, he's a great example of a player who hasn't played an NHL game yet, but is still an ultra steal. And getting him in the 4th round, one of the best goalie prospects we've seen in a long time, is absolutely fantastic. Has been a KHL beast for a while, and likely will be a beast sooner than later for the New York Rangers. Going on to the Eugene Melnyks themselves, the Ottawa Senators and their biggest draft steal, I have Mark Stone. Right winger, age 27 from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Stone was drafted in the 6th round by the Sens, 178th overall in the 2010 draft. And although, of course, he's not on the Ottawa Senators right now, for what he provided for them, it was absolutely amazing to get him in the freaking 6th round, man. And I think he's one of the best wingers in the NHL right now, one of the best players in the NHL right now, is a dominant player on the ice, an excellent play driver, is pretty much the ultra Brendan Gallagher, and when healthy, also puts up more points. Now going on to the Philadelphia Flyers and their biggest draft steal, I have Carter Hart himself. Goaltender, age 21 from Sherwood Park, Alberta. The famous Sherwood Park, Alberta. He was drafted 2nd round, 48th overall in 2016. And although that's a 2nd round pick, that's still a pretty fantastic one. For Philly getting their goalie of the future and getting one of the best goalies for the future in the NHL, 48th overall, I'll definitely take that. Going on to the Pittsburgh Penguins, for my biggest pen steal of the past 10 years, I have Jake Guentzel. Left winger at age 24, Guentzel was born in Nebraska, America, which is obviously fantastic. Guentzel was drafted though in the 3rd round, 77th overall in the 2013 NHL draft. And Jake Guentzel, going back to that 2013 draft, has taken his time to become a lethal NHL player, but right now is one of the best players on Pittsburgh. Had an amazing year last year, got 40 goals, and is making Team USA and me especially very proud right now. Going on to one of my favorite teams, the San Jose Sharks. And for the Sharks' biggest draft steal, there's been a lot of them, I'm picking Kevin Labanc. Now, Kevin Labanc was drafted in the 6th round, 171st overall in the 2014 NHL draft. Right winger, age 23 from Brooklyn, New York. Kevin Labanc really, this past season, broke out in a big way. Got that 1-year, $1 million contract, which for him makes no sense. For the San Jose Sharks, it's a pretty good deal, not gonna lie, but I have always liked Kevin Labanc. Obviously not his draft year because he was relatively unknown, but when he made the NHL, when he started getting regular ice time, I really did notice him well. He was always a player that I really had an admire for, and he's a guy that's broken out in a big way. For San Jose is one of their best players right now, and will be in the next few years too. Now going on to the Stanley Cup champions, the St. Louis Blues, and their biggest draft steal. There's been quite a few of them in the past 10 years, but I'm picking Colton Parayko. The defenseman at age 26 from St. Albert, Alberta. Parayko was drafted in the 3rd round by St. Louis, 86th overall in the 2012 NHL draft, and that 2012 draft is absolutely terrible. Parayko is one of the best players from that draft in the 3rd round. He's an amazing defenseman with some great offensive upside too, but in the 3rd round, and arguably their best defenseman behind Pietrangelo, that's not a bad haul whatsoever. Now, just like the San Jose Sharks going to the Tampa Bay Lightning and their biggest draft steal, again, there was a lot of them, I have Nikita Kucherov. Right winger, age 26, Russian-born. He was drafted and stolen in the 2nd round, 58th overall in 2011. And for Nikita Kucherov, you know, the guy that just broke the points record since guys like Jágr and Mario Lemieux. You know, getting him in the 2nd round, 58th overall, I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but I think that's a decent pick. I would say so. Going on to the Toronto Maple Leafs and their biggest draft steal, I have Andreas Johnsson. Left winger, age 24 from Sweden. He was drafted in the 7th round, 202nd overall in the 2013 NHL draft. Now, Johnsson's whole story is super fascinating. Johnsson, when he was drafted, the main reason he was drafted that low was because nobody really thought that he had the conditions he had. He had undiagnosed asthma, which obviously was reason why he wasn't performing in his draft year. But after that fact, he slowly made his way up into an NHL player, and now without that asthma, that undiagnosed asthma, he's gotten rid of that. He's now ready to go, and has been a quality player for Toronto the past couple of years. This past season, had a relatively good breakout year, 43 points as a rookie, and when it comes to Johnsson, it will be one of their better players in the NHL in the next few years. Right now, age 24, still has a lot to give, and right now is in the prime of his career too. Going on to the Vancouver Canucks in their biggest draft steal, I have Adam Gaudette. Center at age 22 from Braintree, Massachusetts. Whatever. He was drafted in the 5th round, 149th overall, back in the 2015 NHL draft, and Gaudette recently just came to the NHL this past season after being a solid prospect for a long time for Vancouver. When it comes to Gaudette, he's not a superstar by any means, but getting a solid two-way player that can have an impact offensively and defensively in the 5th round, it's a pretty good steal for Vancouver. Going on to my 3rd favorite team, the Vegas Golden Knights, and in my opinion, their biggest draft steal, recently coming from the 2019 draft, being Pavel Dorofeyev. Left winger, age 18 from Russia. He was drafted in the 3rd round, 79th overall in the 2019 draft. When it comes to Dorofeyev, I still hold the opinion that he's a top 25 prospect in the 2019 draft. Went way too low, and I mean, I'll take it as a Vegas Golden Knights fan, but that is a total steal. He'll prove a lot of different people wrong, especially with his amazing offensive potential. Going on to the Caps, and in my opinion, the best Washington Capitals draft steal of the past 10 years being Christian Djuse. Defenseman age 25 from Sweden. Djuse was drafted in the 7th round, 195th overall in the 2012 NHL draft, and not just having one of the best names in the NHL, he's also a pretty decent hockey player. Had 10 points in 45 games last year, and while he's not going to be this amazing player for Washington, I don't think, he's still a solid player, and just that name alone is an obvious steal. Going to our final team, the Winnipeg Jets, and in my opinion, the best Jets draft steal of the past 10 years being Connor Hellebuyck. Goaltender, age 26 from Commerce, Michigan. Hellebuyck was drafted in the 5th round, 130th overall in the 2012 NHL draft. Now, I'm the biggest fan of Hellebuyck. He had a rough year last year, in my opinion, but Hellebuyck is still a solid NHL goalie, and getting him in the 5th round is excellent. Hopefully for the Winnipeg Jets, last year was a little bit of a fluke rather than the year before, where it was good being a fluke. But again, he's still a decent goalie, and so far, so good when it comes to his NHL career. He's taken his time to get to the NHL and be an impact player, but again, for Winnipeg, hopefully he's a lot more consistent from now on. But you can see throughout all of my picks that I had picks from the 2nd round, from the 7th round. When it comes to draft steals, it can be a lot of varied, and that's what makes this video, and that's what made my picks so fun to make. But when it comes to this video, I need to hear your guys' thoughts down in those comments down below. So let me know, what do you think about my picks, what do you agree and disagree with, and of course the question on to you. Who do you think are the best draft steals over the past 10 years? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you should click on this card right here to watch my video on every NHL team's worst draft bust over the past 10 years. But that'll be it for today, guys. If you guys enjoy, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on my picks, what you agree and disagree with. Share this video with your friends, of course, if you haven't, trying to grow the Grav gang as much as possible. I'm Nathan, and I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.